Order. The special meeting of the Desert Community College District is called to order. Becky, can you please say the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Please join me as we honor our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay. Pursuant to Government Code 54954-2B2, the board may take action on items of business not appearing on the posted agenda upon a determination of a two-third vote of the board, or if less than two-thirds of the member are present or unanimous vote of those present, that there is a need to take immediate action and that the need for action came to the attention of the local agency subsequent to the agenda being posted as specified. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the agenda as presented of November 22nd, 2016? Being none, the agenda stands confirmed as presented. Public comments.
Go ahead and read your item.
I don't have an item.
Mary Jane, go ahead and read that.
Persons who wish to speak to the board on any item may not appear on this, that item not appearing on this, there is a limit of 3 minutes per person and a 15-minute per topic, unless further time is granted by the board. Your comments will be timed and you will be asked to stop speaking when the timer sounds. People wishing to speak on the agenda item will be given that opportunity at the time the agenda is heard. Please understand the board welcomes your comments, but it's not able to respond to those comments. Julia, do we have any did you receive, well, any questions?
For items not
on the agenda?
Yeah, this is the time for people that want to speak about items not on the agenda. So,
Once again, I just want to be clarified through our attorney that these are items that are not on the agenda. Is that correct? I just
Yeah,
want to be
this would be the
clarified on the
time
legal
for-
counsel for the district.
public comment on items not on the agenda, which would be comments about anything other than the Alumni Association, so.
I don't believe there are any items unless somebody.
Are there any on that item? Okay. Okay.
All right, then I'll go into.
Dr. Kinnaman, would you like to provide a public update?
Yes, this
Thank
is
you.
discussions under item B of the agenda. And I would like to provide an update. Over the last few years, the College Board has expressed a strong desire to improve alumni relations and increase activities to support alumni, including expanded career services, participation in student mentoring, and recruitment and growing the alumni network. Working with the existing alumni organization, a number of strategies and structures were considered. We have recommended transitioning the organization from an independent organization to function more as an auxiliary of the college, requested greater focus on growing alumni participation and engagement, and reducing rents and increasing advertising for the street fair to increase vendors and related revenue to support our students. However, none of these recommendations have been adopted by the association. Today, the district board will consider an action as sole member of the Alumni Association to more closely align college and alumni engagement efforts by appointing and/or removing directors of the Alumni Association and the potential appointment of an interim executive director of alumni relations to lead those efforts. Aligning these activities mirrors the model increasingly employed by many of our nation's top colleges and universities, as colleges seek to increase participation of alumni and maximize efficiencies in operations and expense. Additional steps to enhance transparency and foster greater collaboration between the college and the Alumni Association will include formation of the Alumni Relations Task Force to explore ways to strengthen alumni relations and expand membership, expansion of meaningful student and alumni programs and events, development of a plan to educate graduating students about the value and benefit of an ongoing relationship with the college and increase engagement in programs. Increased advertising and marketing for both alumni relations and the street fair. Development of multi-year contracts between the college, the Alumni Association, and the street fair. All annual Alumni Association audits will be presented in public meetings of the college, of the board, before the Board of Trustees. Expanded transparency for Alumni Association meetings, including public meeting notices, conducting open meetings, and adding standing agenda items to include regular participation and reporting from the street fair merchants and Alumni Relations Task Force. We look forward to working with the Alumni Association to honor and continue the rich history of the organization and to grow our connection and engagement with alumni, as well as expand and enhance the success of the street fair and its merchants to increase support for our students. To that end, we will dedicate all current and future street fair net revenue to student scholarships, student services, and support. We look forward to your consideration. And that is my public update. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinnaman. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for the persons who wish to speak to the board on the agenda item. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic, unless further time is granted by the board. Your comments will be timed, and you'll be asked to stop to speak when the timer sounds. Please understand, the board welcomes your comments, but it's not able to respond to those comments. Julia, have you received any requests at this time? Okay. First is Crystal Salcido.
Good afternoon. So my name is Crystal Salcido. I was born and raised here in the Coachella Valley. I am a COD alumni. I came here in 2011 and graduated in 2014 with an associate's in biology. And then I transferred on to UCR where I got my bachelor's in Chicano studies. All 3 years that I was here at COD, I received the COD Alumni Scholarship, and it helped in an immense way. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention I'm back here in the Valley working for the Latino Commission Counseling Center, out stationed in Coachella, and I plan to return to school in a couple years for my master's. So, all 3 years that I was here in COD, I received the COD Alumni Scholarship, and it helped out immensely, obviously, with financially. And it allowed me to allocate more time to my studies. I did very well here at COD, and I actually graduated debt-free, not only from COD, but also from UCR, and I owe a lot of that to the scholarship. Not only did it help me financially, but it actually opened a lot of opportunities for me. I got to be president of the COD Alumni Scholarship Club all 3 years that I was here. I helped start it, and it provided me with such a great experience, such a great learning experience. I worked on a lot of those soft skills that you don't learn in the classroom, like communication skills, leadership skills, organizational skills, all of skills that I'm still using now, now that I'm in the workforce. So I am very, very grateful for having that opportunity, for having that scholarship. It helped me out a lot. And I know that it helped out a lot of other students that I went to school with. And sorry, my throat's really dry. But all in all, I just want to say that I think that many students have benefited. I mean, a lot of students have benefited from the COD alumni. And I just want to say that the way everything has been working, I'm very hopeful that things can continue the way it is, and because I know that, like I said, a lot of students are in very great need of the services that the organization has provided. Thank you.
Jason Barlow, please. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jason Barlow. Cool stuff you didn't know you needed. I'm a merchant at the COD Street Fair. I'm also the merchant board president. As many of you, I didn't expect to be here today. I wonder how this day and the years to come will play out in your minds after today. Have you thought of all of the ramifications of making decisions to dissolve the Alumni Association? Because that is what I see on the table today. This action says to me that you do not appreciate the efforts, the hard work of the organization that has provided so much to the community, not only monetarily, but as a role model for leadership, philanthropy, community responsibility, amongst other things. Are you willing to say today that the Board of Trustees does not appreciate or value the things the Alumni Association stands for? After today, how many organizations and individuals do you believe will volunteer to step forward and work really hard to support your effort? I believe that you will completely squash some of those passions of those individuals that are volunteers, like the Alumni Association. You write in the background for the issue that was quoted, and I quote, "Obviously, our shared goal is to continue and actually strengthen our long-standing relationship with the Alumni Association." It doesn't sound like that to me. I hope I'm wrong. And I beg you to not make a rash decision today. I am positive that the framers of the Alumni Association never intended or considered the very organization that they committed to enrich would someday take the actions that are being presented here today. The Street Fair is the #1 resource generator of the Alumni Association. And, it's a big deal. I guess by a show of hands, how many of us have been to the Street Fair and shopped the Street Fair in support of that in the last 2 months? I know I have. In the last 6 months, in the last year. I think that we really need to consider how we're going to support the Street Fair and the Alumni Association. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Arturo Ceja, please.
Distinguished members of the board, my name is Arturo Ceja, and I am the Vice President of the College of the Desert Alumni Association. Notice, College of the Desert Alumni Association. We are not the College of the Desert, as your letter states. First of all, I have been associated with this board of directors for the past 16 years. I was a student here in 2000. I later became part of the community. I never left the community. Went to Cal State San Bernardino, graduated from the Palm Desert campus with honors. Came back to the community again, and I'm working within the community, and we're here. We have worked in many ways with different organizations. This board was my inspiration to serve with the board on the Alumni Association's board. Why? Because of the great relationships that have been fostered throughout the years with the students and with other organizations. It is a shame that we're here today. The information on the letter that was given to us has a lot of misinformation and flat out lies. Coming to a board of directors from you, from two of the members of this organization, the top two members of your organization, and going to a board meeting and saying, I don't like what you're doing, and leave it at that, that's not enough. Give us options. Tell us how the board wants to work with us so that we can incorporate that within the organization and everything we're doing. That was never provided to us. Simply saying that we do not operate with direct oversight, what were they doing if not providing that oversight for the college? Sitting there doing nothing, really? We were told that the education code requires the Alumni Association to become an auxiliary. We have yet to receive that letter that we have been requesting for several months now. We have never seen it. In fact, I would like to see that today, that the education code requires us to become an auxiliary of the College of the Desert. Again, we have not seen that. It is a shame that we're here today. We volunteer our time. I would rather be doing a lot of other things with my free time. We do not get paid for this. We want to participate and we want to be responsible within our community. That's what you taught us, all of you. Aurora, Becky, Dr. Stefan, Yant, you told us to go out there and change the world, and here we are, telling us that we cannot do that. It's a shame. Thank you.
Thank you, John Solier.
Actually, Madam President, I did have a card in for agenda item 2A. I was not permitted to speak during the opening public comment, and I would like to take that time prior to speaking on this item,
That's fine.
of course. I'll wait for the reset on the clock. Thank you. This board has a right, actually the president of the board has a right to call a 24-hour notice special meeting. I work for a public agency. I understand the Brown Act. I understand that's your prerogative. Usually it's because there's an urgency item. In this case, this is not an urgency item. This is an issue that has been going on, and in fact, this group has been requesting audience with members of this body to discuss this, but has been declined that opportunity. My problem with the agenda itself is something that you may not know. In the past week, actually 2 weeks, I've had numerous individuals approach me and ask me what I did to anger Mary Jane Sanchez. I said, what are you talking about? And one of these people, by the way, was my employer. And that employer said, she approached me and said that she was having you investigated for illegal activities by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I said, you have got to be kidding. Why would the president of the College Board of Trustees be investigating me and her the former candidate that ran against her, Brianna Sewell, who I supported in word mostly. I didn't vote for her. She's not in my district. By the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A week and a half later, the president of the Board of Trustees is calling a special 24-hour meeting, which is going to discuss the removal of directors and the executive director of the College of the Desert Alumni Association, of which I'm the president. I find it uncanny. In my mind, first of all, the statements were defamatory. When you speak to my boss and cause him to think that I may have been part of activities that would require the Federal Bureau of Investigation to be involved in my private life. Second, I can only see this meeting as something that is a retaliatory action against me supporting a candidate, which is my constitutional right as an American, which other people in my community, I have soon found out, were excoriated by your president, your chairperson, for taking that position and supporting this other individual. And now you four are sitting as party to this retaliation. And I'll tell you what, you proceed at your own peril. But these were separate people that approached me who don't even know each other. I thought it was a joke. The only joke is that that kind of activity would happen and a person would use their office and their influence and their power to call this type of a meeting and to influence this kind of an action because of someone representing or supporting a different candidate. Something's wrong with that, and I believe you four need to consider what this meeting is for. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to start my other comments if you'd like.
Okay. Okay, go. Is that, where are we at right now in that?
On the agenda.
On the agenda.
Yeah, agenda item, yes.
You know, there's a proverb that says, the first guy's story always sounds right until the second guy shows up to testify. I'm the second guy. The mission of the College of Desert Alumni Association: enhance the success of college students, enrich campus environment, provide scholarships, provide recognition to students, alumni, and community leaders, create awareness of the value for higher education, provide financial support for enhancement of COD facilities, programs, faculty, staff. This Alumni Association has fulfilled that mission to a T, never failing. There's a number of issues with the staff report that has been given to you in this packet that Mr. Ceja touched on. I want to try and touch on them quickly. Transparency. It was stated that we're independent with no direct oversight, reporting, or transparent requirements, except for the state of California, who monitors every 501c3. Participation of the COT appointees in every meeting when they would show up. An annual budget, an annual audit, monthly financial statements that not only disclose our position, but also disclose our check register every single time we spend. We are not applicable to the Education Code. It says there's been 8 months of discussion to align efforts. We have been met with the attorneys, and it was at my board's chagrin, by the way, that I was meeting with Dr. Kinnaman and our attorney and Mr. Hargreaves. They were not happy about that, but I said, we need to do this. We were making a little bit of headway until Dr. Kinnaman expressed displeasure in us joining with CVEP to participate in the Pathways program this year. And our board said, no way, we're going to continue this discussion about auxiliary because we see what he wants to do. He wants to shut down our relationship with the alumni or with CVEP, which doubles our money every year. There are a number of items that are spelled out in here where I have for you, and I will submit for the record a packet for each of you, correspondence between our agency and your agency and to you that discredit much of what is being said here. The worst of all, however, is when you asked at a meeting not long ago to be participants and desired to show more participation with the Alumni Association, we were frankly overjoyed. That note came to us in June. We discussed it on the July we didn't have quorum because members of COD were unable to make it. In August, we discussed that. Betsy Young came to this meeting and read my statement. My statement was as follows: we would love to have you. We've asked our tax attorney to participate and help us understand what your role would be to make sure there's no conflict. We have non-voting membership. You can come at any meeting, anytime under that. We could change the bylaws to add a seat for one of you, or you could take one of the 2 seats that you already control at any time you want. That was my statement. It's on our official minutes. In August, it was a statement by Betsy Young, and yet here in the staff report, it says we declined. Folks, I want you there. I want you to see how this happens. I want your participation. The whole board does. And it's a travesty that so many things that are written in here that I don't have time to comment on. But I'm going to leave you copies of these correspondence. You could figure it out for yourself. There's something wrong.
Thank you. Rosalind Escareño.
Hello, my name is Rosalina Escareño. I'm a student at COD I'm a student at COD, I'm sorry. I'm majoring in liberal arts and arts, humanities, and communications, and soon I will be transferring to this upcoming fall of 2017. I've received the scholarship for 2 years now, and when I think about the COD Alumni Scholarship, it's not only about your help with covering my costs for tuition, books, but to help us get to know each other and network within the scholars. As we are educated and learn within our major, we grow in the community to help one another, and that's exactly what the COD alumni is aiding all of us with. With the help of COD alumni, I've had the opportunity to cover, obviously, my financial need with tuition, parking permit, health fees, several books, and the opportunity to help meet my fellow scholars on a one-on-one basis. So for everything you've done, I would like to sincerely say thank you, but I hope the COD alumni continues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deanna Gamboa.
Rosalina Gamboa. I am a student here at COD, and I am majoring in health science. I'm planning to transfer hopefully within the next year to a four-year university. I am a first-year scholar of from the COD Alumni Association. And the COD Alumni Association has helped me during my first and very stressful semester in college financially, and has supported me along the way. To receive such a scholarship from the COD Alumni Association means to me that I am not alone on this scary journey that I thought college would have been. The COD Alumni Association takes the time out of their busy schedule to promote students and assure they are first priority, and I truly do appreciate that. One memory I have carried with me that the COD Alumni Association has done this past summer of 2016 is we had a barbecue this past summer, and it really opened up my eyes, and it really gave all of us just the opportunity just to meet each other and to see a familiar face on campus. And to tell you the truth, I keep in contact with a good group of the people that I met, like Rosie. I met her at the barbecue, so it was just such a bump start to a great semester. And I can't express how much of a blessing the scholarship has been to me and my family. I don't have to work, or I can just focus on school. So it really has been very beneficial to me. And I would just really like to take this opportunity to thank the COD Alumni Association for always going above and beyond. And they have made a difference for me, and I know for so many others. And thank you for taking the time, the board. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Ernesto Rios, please.
Thank you, trustees, President Kinnaman. For many of you who have been involved with the college and the community, you might have heard my story in regards to the impact that the COD Alumni Association had in my own journey. When I was in the 8th grade, I received my very first scholarship, and that scholarship came from the COD Alumni Association. It was $100, and it was so that I could buy books at Barnes & Noble. No one in my family had gone to college. None of my friends had gone to college. Many of them were in gangs. They were going down the wrong path. But the fact that an organization took an interest in supporting youth such as myself at that time really meant a lot. So when I graduated from Coachella Valley High School and I sought to better myself and the life of my family, COD became the best option. I came to College of the Desert. The counselors assisted me. And along the way, I got to see even further the impact that the Alumni Association was making on the community and the students. When I transferred to a four-year college university, I kept in touch with the staff here at the college, and they supported me. They were the backbone and kept me moving forward. When I came back to the community, I helped co-found a program that was supporting more students in pursuit of a higher education. And one of those organizations that was first at those meetings with the COD Alumni Association, and they helped found what is now referred to as the Pathways to Success program. Since 2009, our organizations have collectively awarded more than $2 million to students attending College of the Desert. That's more than 500 scholarships to students that attend this college. The persistence rate of those scholars is higher than the general student population, 11 percentage points higher over non-scholars. The financial aid uptake for those scholars is 20% higher than non-scholars, even before getting their scholarship. The impact that the COD Alumni Association has made on the community is significant, and I'm here as a stakeholder and as an individual who was directly impacted by the COD Alumni Association. And I just want to thank them for the great work that they've done. I've seen it firsthand, and I just am very supportive of what they've done over the years. And I want to thank them and look forward to future discussions as to how we can further build this partnership along with the college. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you. Okay, is that all the comments we have, Julia? Is that, okay.
So I
Does
think-
anyone else want to come forward, just for the record? I think. Okay,
Okay, so now we have item 3A1.
okay. What page?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
is it appropriate for us to look at the material that John Sawyer left here?
I'd have to ask the attorney.
yes, Dr. John.
Could we do that, please?
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, we don't have copies for everyone in the audience, but we'll make sure that they're made available as soon as possible so that other folks will have an opportunity to review them.
Is there something confidential? Which is possible.
Do you need a little time, trustee John? You want it, or any of the trustees?
Do we need a recess?
Or do you need a recessed? Thank you.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, so we'd like to take a recess?
Take a recess or for 10 minutes?
Don't we need to stay present, though, don't we?
Yeah, I would suggest, you all are going to stay here? Perfect, that's fine.
Do you need a motion?
No, not for research.
Okay.
Are there any objections to just a recess to look through the materials? Okay, being none, we will just look through the materials. We are now moving to action item 3A1. Do we have a motion?
A motion to discuss? We do.
I have, so we did a motion to move the board as a sole member, removing, is that correct? Do I have a second on that?
A second.
So the motion states, for the record, that the board as a sole member remove the existing 6 directors of Alumni Association and consider new appointments. And we have a second from trustee Stefan. And the discussion,
Is that your motion?
So,
That's my motion.
and that is your motion.
That's basically the motion that's put forward, gives us a chance to discuss. And I'm taking the privilege, since I made the motion, to step into this discussion, which I step into with mixed emotions, because I want to be very sure that what we're doing is not what has been supposed. It's my understanding that as the corporation is set forward, and I thank John for this information because I enjoyed reading for myself that the IRS has acknowledged something that we've all felt for years, that, let me see, I'm looking for my list here, that they are indeed a not-for-profit organization, and that they do, I guess they choose to call it charity. I see it as opening doors. But we, the Board of Directors, sit as sole members, as the sole member of that corporation. And because we are a Board of Trustees, our member has 5 heads and a student trustee head. So we must agree what this member thinks or does, because otherwise we don't act. It seems to me that the fear is that the Alumni Association, and the good work that they do with the money that the street fair provides, is going to go away, and that is not my understanding at all. My understanding is the Alumni Association will continue, that our scholarships to the students will continue, that there will continue to be, I'm sure, robust conversation about how those scholarships are distributed, but there will be to College of the Desert students, and that the alumni will become a true auxiliary, which would make this board, to me, it would be a more comfortable relationship, because it would be an auxiliary of the college, and this board would then be more appropriately the only member. We have a sister, which is an auxiliary sister, which would be the foundation. The foundation is in our auxiliary, and it works absolutely independent of us. We all know that. They come and tell us what their good deeds and good works have been, and I appreciate them every time. But I don't see the alumni as exactly the same as the foundation, and I've been saying this for a very long time. I think the alumni, I don't see the alumni and the foundation as merging. I see them as being separate entities and working together, okay? They probably work together like all siblings do, but they'd work together in the long run, because they would be family and they'd do things for the best. So what I heard today from the students that are worried that their scholarships would go away, I know that the intent is for there to continue that money, continue to be put into scholarships and other good works that the Alumni Association has done. We heard some our agency and your agency conversation today, but I think that I heard that as not as being working against each other, simply as seeing things as in this pot and that pot. We did, as a board, offer the thoughts of trustees being on that board or working more closely with that board, and what I heard in the public statement was that we were not exactly embraced, and that saddens me. Although they did stop a squabble, because we all would have fought to see who got to be on the board, but because we all wanted it. But perhaps we can fix that further down the road. Okay, I think that opens the points we heard, and now we can hear from other folks and what they heard.
I'd like to speak next. I seconded it so we could discuss this. And I've been on this board for 17 years. My first encounter with any auxiliary or any organization other than the board itself when I first joined here at College of the Desert as a new trustee was with the Alumni Association. I appreciate everything they have ever done. I have made it a habit of mine to go to the street fair regularly. I try to attend each month, and sometimes I don't make it every month, but I try to make up for it the next month. I try to support our merchants. I know how valuable those scholarships are. I teach at a K-12 district. I teach at a continuation high school. I taught middle school for 20 years. I saw the scholarships the Alumni Association gives out, and I know the value and the meaning of that to all of our students, not just middle school students and not just the students that come here. There have been some concerns that I had, and that was over the last few years, and that was because of the fact that we didn't have really good communication with the Alumni Association, and I couldn't figure out what was going on and what was lacking. Also, we heard various rumors about financial problems and their 501c3 status. So I was glad to get this information from John. The intent of this reorganization is very similar to something that we did with the foundation many, many years ago. I don't even remember which president it was under, but they became an auxiliary. They became an auxiliary, and at the time, the rumor in the valley was that the foundation put on parties for their benefit and made a little bit of money for the college. I know that is not what the Alumni Association is doing, and it has never been their intent. The Alumni Association, in my book, was the one for the common people, for our graduates. And the foundation was for people that had a little bit more that they could give for whatever reasons. And the Alumni Association, as I belong to many alumni from other colleges that I've attended over the years, has always been very inclusive of alumni students, and that was one thing that I never saw that involvement, that active involvement within the community. So that's another thing that concerned me. We proposed to the alumni, as John said, that one of us become a member from this board. We do attend the foundation meetings. That's something that we decided to do with the foundation. One of us is appointed to attend those. We are a non-voting member, but it gives us more insight if they're unable to attend our meetings, if they're unable to give a report as an auxiliary. It is really beneficial, and I think that looking at the agenda today, my thought was that we were going to help the alumni become more like the foundation is, to increase their relationship with the board. We are the sole member. We are, in that sense, responsible for what happens. Again, I'm very, very glad to see they are still a 501c3, because I know, being a treasurer of a 501c3 in our community, that it's very difficult if you're doing any kind of fundraising to maintain that status. It has never been our intention to make people feel like we don't value what they do in the community. I know how difficult it is to participate in many things at once, and so do my fellow board members. So that has never been something that we're looking at. We just want to increase that that togetherness with our alumni, and I hope that our intent here today was not to make people feel they weren't wanted, that we didn't value the street fair, that we don't think that we don't want to take over the street fair. We don't, personally, we don't want to see it go away. I'm one of those people that every time I visit somebody that visits me at a timeshare in the valley, I take all pamphlets that I can find about the street fair and pass them out at the resorts, because I know that those people, you know, will probably go. They don't have much else to do besides swim in the pool and go to those nice things that they go to, play golf. But sometimes the women like to shop, and what better place for them to shop than here and support our students? So I think what we're looking at doing is just changing the structure and getting better communication, and making sure that everything is lined up, that we are a true alumni association, serving our alumni, collecting data on our alumni on where they are, because, as I said, I teach. I don't often see very many of my students come back. Sometimes I see them out here. Sometimes they will come back and visit me and tell me how well they're doing. But it's very difficult when you're a college and you're geared to student success, and you don't have the data to support that, yes, our students graduated, that was successful, but where are they now? And we have no idea. And that's one of the things that we need to see from our Alumni Association. So I will pass the microphone to someone else that may be.
We're going this direction.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Doc.
I have 2 points of information for Dr. Kenneman and council, and these would just be for clarification. Was there some misunderstanding or misstatement in President Sheehan's letter in 2004? That's a part of the packet that we were given.
Are you referring to a particular statement?
Yes. As distinguished from an auxiliary, College of the Desert Alumni Association is an independent organization separate and apart from the College of the Desert.
There are numerous pieces of correspondence in the file. This would be one of those. There's also a correspondence from, I can't remember the term, his last name's Black, from the State Chancellor's office during this time period, indicating what auxiliaries are and what they are not and how they should be structured. And this one goes back to '04. There's additional correspondence between the Chancellor's office and I believe it was Jerry Patton with regard to this as well. So it's been a long-standing dialogue on what auxiliaries look like and how they should be structured, and if they're not an auxiliary, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And so some of the things that that an auxiliary would be allowed to do is much more empowering, I would say, because of their affiliation is with the college and having a memorandum of understanding between the two parties on how they will promote and market and do activities together. But they have to fall within the Ed Code guidelines. And so there's different nuances to both those, but we also have legal opinions on that we can provide with the board as well.
Got it. So I understand that.
Yeah.
The second point of information is just could you share with everyone how alumni participate in other alumni associations at community colleges?
Sure. You know, it varies. What we're seeing more across the nation is going more towards an advancement model. And the advancement model would include a representative from, you would have an alumni arm, you would have a foundation arm, and sometimes those are internal functions, sometimes they're external functions, and you may have an internal function that coordinates with those two, which is more what I would see in what we're discussing here. By no means what is before you now impacts the current executive director of the Alumni Association. The intent and the recommendation was also to have a person that was part of the college that would operate in that fashion to be a conduit between the three entities, and then also be able to help us hopefully shepherd a marketing campaign that complements each of the bodies and other types of initiatives that are consistent behind the board's strategic plan and what the board of trustees would like to see come to fruition, so that it is more in unison. So I see more of the advancement model is what we're evolving towards across the nation.
And I also heard in what you said, really good coordination between all of those entities.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments? Student trustee? Okay. Trustee Wilson, please.
There was a comment made during public comments with regard to a letter to the alumni regarding educational code requirements that they said they did not receive. May I have some comment on that?
Certainly. It's been probably 2 years that Dave Irwin and I met with the Alumni Association and the Alumni Association's legal counsel, in which those documents were provided as an addition to what I was describing to Trustee Yant, the way an auxiliary is structured and the way a non-auxiliary is structured. And so this sounded like a more recent request, but having provided that during that time frame with our legal counsel in consultation with the Alumni Association's legal counsel, I am aware that the legal counsel of the Alumni Association has that documentation.
I have no further comments, only to concur with the comments made by Trustee Broughton and Trustee Stefan at this time.
The only other comments, let's see, I guess the motion is, never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself.
I wanted to just make a comment as working on behalf of the SBA. The merchants of the alumni are the cornerstone of the Coachella Valley. I'm an advocate of all the merchants and what you do for all our students. So I know we have a robust student alumni association club. So it's so important that we keep this message together and cohesive and open and transparent. So that just I want to concur with my fellow trustees on that and making sure that we keep open and transparency on the spirit and mindfulness. That's all for my comments.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure, I know we have this motion on the table, whether you want, as part of this motion, me to make recommendations on potential appointments, or if you would prefer for us to, because this one needs to carry first, and so it would probably be the.
I'd like to
Yeah.
I'd like the privilege of restating and seeing if I can build a consensus of what I've heard, if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead, Trustee Broughton.
So the motion that's on the table, as I understand it, is that as the board, as a sole member, remove the existing 6 directors of the Alumni Association and consider new appointments. I want to be sure that I heard what I think I heard. I think I heard that the interim director, this only deals with the actual directors of the board, that members of the board that have been, that if they were to be removed today, they could be reappointed. I would like to have heard that we'll reach out to those active members of the board that have worked very hard at building this organization and keeping it going, that we would reach out to them and find them places, and perhaps they'll be interested in being on the board. It might be some other way they want to work with us, but I would hope that we wouldn't burn those bridges. Every member that's out there, every person that's spoken to us today sincerely loves the Alumni Association. And I think it's important that we change the structure of it so it comes to be more of an auxiliary. I don't want to blow it up. It's the warm and friendly and fuzzy face of our college. As Ernie said, his first touch with College of the Desert was the Alumni Association. I've met other members of our community that was exactly the same. It was the first time someone ever said, "I believe in you." Mm-hmm. And that's important that we continue to say that. I think we need to look as those, and I understand that the board is dynamic. The membership of the board is dynamic, so I would hope we'd continue to reach out to students, that I would hope that there would be a place for a trustee in a way that shadows our participation in the foundation, not as a way that they actually run that's not any, I did not hear that was anyone's interest, was to push too far in that. And I think I heard from the students, well, and I've heard that many times, that the alumni's, I'm going to choose to call it a club because I probably can't find exactly the word, their support system for the students is tremendous. It does a lot of good. So one of the things I heard today is that the board of the Alumni Association should continue that support group because it works. Did I leave out anything, guys?
No, you did very
Oh,
good.
that-
One
Yes.
thing, you said they have a love for the Alumni Association. I believe they also have a love for this college.
Yes.
And I know they have a love for our students, and I want that very,
Absolutely.
very clear and on the record.
Just to emphasize, and very clearly, scholarship programs continue.
Exactly.
And street fair
And
continues.
street fair continues, yes. And that the reporting system in the future would be, again, mirror, but appropriately mirror, the foundation where we see each other's audits, which we can see now, it's public information, but it comes forward officially to us so that the accreditation folks would see it, the chancellor's office would know that we're communicating properly, that the whole world would smile on us, and the Alumni Association can go on and do their good works. So,
Okay.
so that was my motion, and we had a second, and I tried to bring together all the various thoughts, although poor Carlos is having a stroke over there
Right.
because
We're
I talked in circles. I'm so sorry. So I
Oh,
believe
so
that's
Beck-
where we are.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we have a second, we have discussion. This is where the board can ask the college president what he recommends for the director appointments moving forward.
You know,
President Kinnaman.
I believe there's several things that's been mentioned here that we are in transition. And one thing is that we need to make sure we have a body that has a quorum that then can be able to move forward in establishing structures that really work towards what the Board of Trustees, the goals, and what's also most important to all the entities involved. To do that, you know, some of the points we mentioned were how do we engage students? How can we engage students from when they're first coming to us until they're leaving us, and making sure that they're part of the fabric of the organization, that they're exposed early on to our alumni programs, and that they can really, as they reflect back in their elder years, that they will think of College of the Desert as the place that really changed their course, so that they will be very constructive alumni members. So in saying that, I think it's key that we have individuals that are in our student support programs that would assist us as we develop the structure. A few that I would mention is Carlos Maldonado, our Dean of Enrollment Services. I believe would be very effective in assisting that transition of the student focus. Dr. Annabelle Neary, our Vice President of Student Success. And Amanda Phillips is Dean of Counseling, and she oversees, of course, the counselors that interact on a day-to-day basis with our students. And in addition, for continuity regarding fiscal matters, Vice President Howe has been on the executive board of the Alumni Association, and she has the fiscal expertise together with John Ramont in fiscal services that I think would both be very effective in us transitioning. And lastly, well, not lastly, next, if we look at collaboration and strengthening the marketing and promotion collaboration between entities, we mentioned the foundation being an arm underneath the advancement model, so I would recommend foundation representative Peter Sturgeon. If those appointments, and those are 6 appointments at this time, at least so that the Alumni Association will be able to meet and then identify itself, and I would recommend that the remaining appointments for the Alumni Association, that they be COD alumni. And so my request would be if the board did consider these as initial appointments, these 6 as initial appointments, that it's also with the understanding and expectation that those, that body would then start identifying alumni to fill out the rest of that, that board.
And the rest is how many?
It's currently 10 total, but the alumni board can always look at modifying the bylaws to expand that. They they'll determine there's some subsets of the board. I mean, an example is with the foundation, we have the Academic Angels, which is, you know, in excess of 100 angels that are working on behalf of the foundation. So there may be some subsets or some thoughts in modifying the bylaws that would get more people and more alumni involved.
I would like to see more alumni involved.
I'd also like to see the continuation of student involvement. I think that's critical.
Madam Chair, with regard to the 6 recommendations that the president has put forward, I would like to discuss the addition of a board trustee, whether it be one of the 6.
I'm wondering if it would be better if we were non-voting, because I know that in auxiliaries that can be a very touchy situation if they're voting. But at least have, you know, their presence required, similar to what we do on the foundation.
I would suggest that, you know, for tonight, we move forward as recommended and that we put that under consideration because there are ramifications for having. I mean,
voting member of this
it complicates the legal situation a little bit if you're on both boards.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on this item?
Only that I would like to have that brought up at some future discussion time. And that, as I said before, that I
You're-
do
you're-
think,
you're-
I do think those COD alumni that Dr. Kinman mentioned, that's very important, and I believe we'll find that a number of people that have currently or previously served on our board are just exactly that.
I agree.
Any more discussion on those items from my fellow board members? Student trustee Estrada, your vote, please.
Okay, just to be clear, at this point, the motion is to remove the 6 existing board members.
So I will restate the motion.
Did you already vote that?
We already voted the board as a sole member, removing.
I just restated the motion.
She just restated
Right.
Stated we did not vote.
There was, yeah, we need to vote on that one first. Okay.
first. So student trustee Estrada, your vote, please.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sadly, but aye, yes.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. So we need a motion now in the second part that the board, as a sole member, appoint the following individuals as the directors of the College of the Desert alumni. I just want to make sure we're on that motion.
Yes.
Just make sure that, I just wanted to clarify that the board, as the sole member, appoint now the following individuals as directors to the College of the Desert alumni. Carlos Maldonado, the Dean of Student Success. Dr. Annabelle Neary, Vice President of Student Success. Amanda Phillips, Interim Dean of Counseling. John Ramont, Director of Physical Services. Peter Sturgeon, COD Foundation. Lisa Howell, Vice President, Administrative Service. Do I have a second?
Could we change, could I suggest you change that language?
To
just
amend the motion?
Yeah, because it could be interpreted that this is the entire list of all the directors,
Okay.
and that's not what your intention was, correct?
No, the bylaws of the Alumni Association currently reads that up to 10. And so I would say this motion with direction to the Alumni Association Board, the desire of the remaining seats, that alumni be considered for the remaining seats.
Could you restate the amendment? Trustee John, would you like to then restate for the record that you moved the board as a sole member? I just want to clarify what you
Right.
said. Appoint the following individuals director with the direction.
For the Alumni Association directors to consider filling out the vacancies with COD
Alumni. And our current students.
Vacancy and/or
Current students, right.
Okay.
student.
You're right, because they wouldn't be.
Okay.
Alumni.
So just for the record, to restate, I move that the board as a sole member appoint the following individuals as directors to the College of the Desert Alumni with the direction for the alumni to consider filling out the vacancy and/or the student. Is that correct, Dr. Kinnaman, or did I miss a statement right there?
Filling out the vacancies with alumni
With alumni
and/or students.
and/or students. Julia, did you get that?
We have that, this is a separate
Mhm.
motion, we have that motion?
We have
Who did the second?
who did the second?
I think that's what we're looking
We're
for.
We're looking for the second? Yes, we are.
I'll second.
Trustee Broughton, second. Discussion.
What would a quorum be?
According to the bylaws, a quorum is 5 members, but if 5 members attend a meeting and then one leaves, the remaining members are able to take action. But the meeting has to start with at least 5 members.
So the quorum is based on the assumption that the entire board is filled.
That's correct. And when I say that, the quorum is based, it's written specifically in the bylaws as 5, yeah, so.
And what would be the terms of these?
The bylaws are specific to the terms. The terms are 3 years from the date of appointment, and they can be renewed, and that's contingent upon approval of the district, and they can be renewed for an additional term with approval. However, the alumni board may modify those bylaws to be different terms once they take a seat, but that would also require approval of the district for the bylaws to be amended or modified.
So it wouldn't be to complete the terms of the ones that.
This would be an action that would be establishing new terms.
I'd like to make a comment on this. Is this going to be publicly, let's say someone from the community that is an alumni wants to get involved, or someone that has served on the previous, how are we going to be advertising this, Dr. Kimman, for any alumni for the whole Coachella Valley? It's really critical that we make sure
I
that.
think that we would encourage the directors to do that, and then part of the thinking behind the student service representatives is that they would really be able to reach out to students that are current students or past students because they're closer to that population than others, so.
Okay, so we're going to be giving it out for students, a lot of open and transparency, letting people know about this.
And I would think
Just wanna
having
make
a
sure.
board where all 6 members' terms expired on the same day would be a nightmare. I would hate to sit on that said board. So I would hope that we would read the bylaws and find how that gets divvied up, and if there isn't an appropriate mechanism, that one be added and it be brought back to this body, because as they said, they are volunteers. Things happen. They can't always come. We need a way to work around it.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Where will we advertise it? Or has that been decided?
Until if this is approved, until those directors meet and make that determination, I would be kind of conjecturing.
You're true,
Yeah.
true.
And President Kim, when and where will they be meeting so people are aware we're open and we're telling the community where this is going on?
I believe they'll be needing to do an organizational meeting, and then at that time, once they do their organizational meeting, they'll be needing to move forward with how to understand the Brown Act, posting those meetings, et cetera.
That also will be a relief to know that everything's been posted. So, other than us verbally thinking those members have served. I believe that as the board, that they deserve at least a thank you
Yes.
in writing that says, thank you for all your hard work. And we hope there are this way and other ways that we can work with you. They have done a lot of years, a lot of time. And sadly, this is the only way to reorganize it, and it turned into that auxiliary organization.
I just want to be clear, will they be able, let's say past members that have spent so much time in volunteering, like we're all volunteers here, they have the ability to apply?
Of course,
Everybody does.
So I just,
Of course.
we have to let
Yes.
the public know
Of
that
course.
they, okay?
of course. This isn't a personal thing, because this is restructuring.
We're just restructuring, okay. Any more discussion on that item? Dr. John, you said you're ready to say something?
Ready to call the question.
Okay. Student trustee Estrada,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Seeing no more business on our agenda, are there any objections to adjourning the meeting? If not, this meeting is adjourned at 4:23. Thank you so much.